When we speak to a lot of the clients that we consult with, the major challenge that we still see today is data.
It's data.
So if you take a CFO, if you take a CIO, if you take a head of HR and a CEO, and you ask them one question, what is my headcount number? You might get different answers from them.
Okay.
Which then alone tells you that there's a discrepancy in terms of understanding the worker population within a company.
Do you see HR evolving in the next 3 years?
I think ideally where HR wants to go to is to be known as being the strategic business partner for the company.
Yeah.
And that means
That's a good
moving
point.
away from tactical, mundane tasks. Now, most HR teams today probably spend, on average, 60 to 80% of their time on mundane tasks.
Greetings. Welcome to another exciting episode of the HR3Sixty Podcast. My name is Themba. I am your host. Today with me is Kiveshen Moodley, Country MD at Workday SA. We're talking everything HR revolution. We're talking how to develop your people analytics capabilities. We're looking forward to sharing exciting insights with you. Kiv, welcome.
Good morning, Themba. Good to be here.
Thank you for the time. You guys are doing exciting things there at Workday. I can't wait to hear more about it. There's so many questions I want to ask you. There's so many things I want us to talk about. Let's see how far we go with the time that we have.
No problem. Thank you.
Before we get our hands dirty, I'd like to introduce you to please introduce yourself to our audience. The best way you know how.
No problem. So good morning, everyone. My name is Kiv. I'm the Country Managing Director for Workday South Africa. I have the privilege and honor to serve our team in South Africa. Workday's been in South Africa for the last 6 years. We opened up our office in 2018. We have plus minus about 22 people that are part of the Workday South African team. However, we have a really good ecosystem of partners and of customers and Workday consultants as well. I think what drives me is I'm really passionate about people, growing individuals and unlocking their hidden potential.
Okay, unlocking the hidden potential. Unlocking the hidden potential. How do you do that?
I think as a leader, there's various techniques to do so.
Okay.
And then with Workday, I do believe that our technology plays a vital role to do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Give us an orientation to Workday. What do you guys do exactly and how do you do it? What are some of your success stories?
Okay, no problem. So Workday is a cloud-based company. We've been around for 19 years. Workday was founded out of complete disruption. So our co-founders used to run a company called PeopleSoft, which Oracle acquired through a hostile acquisition. Our co-founders then left the company and really thought about 19 years ago what was taking place in the market. And this was before cloud really became quite big, cloud computing or SaaS. This was also before mobility became quite big. And the founders had a clean sheet of paper to think about what really worked at PeopleSoft, where's the future of technology going. And back then we took a lot of inspiration from companies like Salesforce, looking at where Amazon was going and Facebook. And Workday was formed as a true SaaS company. We do a few things really, really well. So we manage people in terms of human capital, and we manage money, being financials, within the cloud. And what's infused with that is our ability to do machine learning, AI, and predictive analytics as well.
100%. Let's talk about people as an asset of an organization, right? The most important resource to take any business forward. What are you seeing, from businesses that are putting their people first, if I can put it like that?
Look, it's a good question. We have a very strong philosophy that happy employees leads to happy customers.
Okay.
And there's a lot of rich data out there that shows that when your employee engagement is up, so too is your productivity, and it actually hits your bottom line as well.
Okay.
In terms of increasing profits. So we play a strong proponent in terms of understanding the market, understanding the customers we consult with, our prospective customers and our customers as well.
Yeah.
But for us, it's really about taking that philosophy and investing in people, because my personal philosophy is that if you grow your people, you directly grow your business.
If you grow your people,
you will grow your business.
You will be growing your business.
Yeah.
Okay. I want us to get to the exciting part now. Please tell us about how you are helping leaders navigate, HR leaders to be specific, navigate this time of change.
Sure. So I think, when when we speak to a lot of the clients that we consult with, the major challenge that we still see today is data.
It's data.
So if you take a CFO, if you take a CIO, if you take a head of HR and a CEO, and you ask them one question, what is my headcount number? You might get different answers from them.
Okay.
Which then alone tells you that there's a discrepancy in terms of understanding the worker population within a company. So data for us is a very big challenge that we still see with many South African businesses, even though they've made investments with many other technology providers there. The issue that we see is fragmented. So typically what you have is your HR data for onboarding is different in a different place to where recruiting might be, it's a different place to where learning could be, or your performance management, let alone mobility and security. And there's a bit of a disconnect. So many South African businesses are spending a lot of time doing that stitching and trying to understand these workflows and the security models for bringing that data together. So there's an analogy that we often use as a team that I've presented in a few keynotes, that if you take 6 Lego blocks, and if you think about how many permutations you could have, the answer is about 150, 160 million, which is quite exorbitant. So when you look at data, and if you think about how many discrete systems, coming back to the simple question I had about what would your headcount be, that's what we're seeing as being the challenge, where companies are struggling on identifying who's their top talent.
Okay.
Who should we be retaining? Do we know? Are we incentivizing the right team and the right people?
Yeah.
Are we aware of employee wellness and any initiatives that we need to run?
Okay.
So data for me remains the biggest challenge still today.
Okay.
And we work with a lot of companies in terms of understanding how do we harmonize it, how do we bring that into our platform, and allow executives to make data-driven decisions.
Let's make it more practical. Give us an example of a situation where, you walked in, this was a situation, don't have to mention company names.
Yeah.
This is what you guys did, and this was the outcome.
Yeah, so, we privilege and honored again that we have so many great use cases, but the one that stands out for me is we had an organization that we work with in South Africa, and they didn't know that they had this issue with leave liability. Leave liability is obviously excess leave that employees have that sits on the balance sheet. And this was an exorbitant amount. It was millions and millions of rands.
Okay.
And with the Workday platform, we were able to identify that, and they were able to create the right policies to combat that and reduce their leave liability. So that was just one amazing use case that we've seen. The other one, and we saw a picture of this.
So sorry, Kev, before we go to the second one, with that first scenario there, do you know what was the cost in rand value, and how much do you guys help that client?
It was on average between 20 to 30 million rand in terms of the leave liability.
Oh, is it?
So it was quite substantial.
Okay.
And this is what we also do when we speak to our prospects. We typically embark on a business case before a company considers Workday. So that allows us to identify what are the tangible, measurable levers that's important for the organization. It could be different based on the industry, it could be different based on the culture of the organization, but we don't stop there. So a year after a customer goes live on our platform, we actually come back and we do something called a value realization study, where we measure the business case and then we understand what is the order of magnitude in terms of the value being realized, or has it been realized? And sometimes it might not be because of how the project could have been rolled out, or it may be based on poor adoption. And then we get our hands dirty to work with our customers to understand how do we get them back on track in terms of having that positive business case.
Okay, thanks for that. You're about to share with us the second scenario?
Second scenario. So, with everything being big about in technology right now, in AI, machine learning, I still go back to basics on automation. So I saw a picture the other day of one of our retail customers that presented at a conference we had about a year and a half ago. And the opening slide was walking into a room which looked like a warehouse with boxes of paper. And that was all the employee records. And, simply put, coming back to having clean master data, with the Workday platform, that customer was able to digitize all of that, have a single digital ledger of the employee record within our platform. So sometimes we always think, space age in terms of where AI, machine learning is going. I often bring it back to basics. It's really about automation sometimes.
Bring it back to basics. Bring it back to basics. I love that. I really love that, and it's quite amazing because I've been having these conversations with Leanne from Microsoft. and she said something very interesting. I asked her a simple question to say, but what's the actual challenge in most organizations, right? And the answer was simple when she said, it's because it's the exciting things in most business which gets most of the attention.
Yes. Yeah.
So possibly almost every organization out there is looking for ways to, move to space, get Gen AI going and stuff. But I like it when you said, first take care of the basics.
Yes.
Take care of the basics. Clean your data. Make sure your data is usable. Make sure your data is reliable. Make sure there's completeness in your data and all those type of things.
Yeah.
So I wanted to add that because I like that point so much. Just a reminder, really, for HR leaders, for business leaders to really. It's all good and well to have like fancy ideas, on a round of golf and stuff, but I think that it's important to make things practical, and want to take care, of the foundations to ensure that we're set for the future.
Yes.
Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Look, I think Gartner refers to it as the hype curve or the hype cycle.
Yeah.
And we've seen in the last 20 years that there's been these bursts of or emergence of different technologies or cool ideas, to your point. And people look at these cool ideas and then want these shiny toys. Because a board member or a stakeholder or a CEO might be thinking, we need to have this in order to be competitive, in order to grow our business. But a lot of those things possibly die down over a period of time. I do think AI plays a longer role in terms of where we're going in the future. So, I feel that that's going to be more embedded. But there's definitely in the past been lots of those different hype cycles that have existed. For me, though, it's really about every organization thinking about where they are, being slow in terms of before making any decisions, and really building their foundation of their business. So, it's almost like building the foundation for a house and doing it, layer by layer or Lego blocks. And once you've got that there, then once you've got the data in place, it makes it so much easier in terms of building these other projects or these other initiatives.
100%.
But then when you don't, you just, you're moving away from having this layered approach with lasagna, and you're having all the spaghetti, which leads to confusion. So if you don't have the right data and you're adding all these shiny toys to report off, you're spending more time trying to work out what's true versus what's not. So.
100%. I love that. I want us to talk about developing a people analytics capability. What have you been exposed to when it comes to that? What have you seen organizations doing? Yeah,
so I think we in South Africa we're quite well versed when it comes to technology.
Mm-hmm.
We have so many different companies that have really strong individuals within their teams using various tools, and the most popular one still being Excel. And there's honestly nothing wrong with leveraging Excel in terms of managing data. But I think the key thing is if you find the right people within your team that is really good understanding the people side, the HR side of the business, and really passionate about analytics, that's the type of person you would want in your people analytics team. So before you get to the technology side. So for me, it's about making sure that you have the right individuals that can help understand your business and quite passionate about technology. And there's so many strong individuals within the South African landscape. You've interviewed Zamir from Adcop a few days ago. And he is just a data scientist on steroids. The way that he can look at HR data, all the different pieces, and almost like going back to that Minority Report movie with Tom Cruise many years ago, and being able to move things around and be able to help the business make the right decisions. So
I would like us to spend more time on this on this point, developing a people analytics capability. I want us to spend time on this one because I feel like to most businesses it's foreign, and to others, it's a new thing, if I can put it like that.
Yes.
I want us to make sure that after our discussion here, we've got HR leaders, HC leaders understanding what people analytics is, how to get it right, where to start, and how does it look like. Let's just unpack that a bit, if you don't mind.
No problem. So I think we spoke about part one is trying to get the data harmonized and cleansed, that it makes sense. So once you have the data in a repository that's more centralized, more secure, that's a good starting point. The second one we just spoke about now is having the right team in place.
Okay.
So if we look at people, process, and then we can look at the technology piece last. So technology plays a role in terms of identifying how we can add value when it comes to predictive analytics, when it comes to employee experience, when it comes to making HR data-driven decisions. What we will need to determine, though, is what are the use cases we're looking for. So some companies are very similar in terms of what data they need access to and what the reporting capabilities are. And some might be different purely based on industry, based on how they report into different regulators. So that will be the next step for me. So what are the answers that we possibly might not be able to answer today that we should be looking for in the future? Now, within Workday, we're quite proud based on the fact that we work with our customers. We have about over 500 reports out of the box that we work with our customers to help them identify what reporting is most crucial for them and for their people leaders.
Okay.
And then with that, we're able to build the right use cases out within their teams.
100%.
So we really want our customers to be empowered to use our technology, and we often learn from them. I often learn from our customers when I speak to them on a daily basis in terms of their use cases. So that will be probably the next step, I would say, that make sure you've got tangible use cases that are relevant to your business, and you can leverage technologies like Workday in terms of how do you surface that data and how do you make decisions.
Okay.
Utopia for me is this concept of having a digital boardroom, which we do as our board packs within Workday, where traditionally, we have these files or we have emails going out on board packs, but within the Workday platform, we allow execs to go into a room, either use your iPad or use your laptop and log into Workday, present it on a screen, and having a look at the data and being able to model in real-time different scenarios. So what if our company had to downsize? What will the impact be on the P&L? What if we had to reconfigure the team? What will the new organogram look like? If we had a pot of money that we need to allocate for shares, who do we allocate it to?
Yeah.
And that's the next step that we take it to, that we allow executives to be more empowered and using the data that we have within our platform to make those decisions in real time.
Can a business without a data strategy for HR achieve what we're talking about now?
It's really, really challenging, because just when you get that report, it's already out of date, because you've had 20 people working behind the scenes to stitch these data from different systems. So the minute you get something, it's already out of date because somebody needs to do a new batch report or a new payroll run needs to take place. So it's purely based on the fact that that data most of the time is not real time, and it's still very much human dependent in terms of somebody taking the data, masking it, cloning it, making sense of it to give it to another person to be able to read. Now, that brings another element when it comes to security and governance. So I remember many, many years ago, I worked for an organization and I got to the shared office printer, and I couldn't believe that the salary data for some of the employees was at the printer.
Yeah. I've heard of those
yes, so,
situations before.
And it comes back to this element of still using paper, still being quite manual in making decisions. But when you look at HR data, it's really, really sensitive. Obviously, with things like POPIA coming into play as well.
Yeah, the privacy,
the data privacy. We look at governance. We look at how to archive employees' data as well.
Yes.
A lot of that's really crucial in terms of how we manage data. So within Workday, our platform only allows people or individuals that should be able to access it to read the data.
100%.
So I'll give you one example in terms of what we do with reporting to come. If you had to send a report to 6 people in your team, you can send the same report, but depending on their roles, privileges, they only access the data that's relevant to them. So if I had to send you a report, Themba, and you, for some reason, should not see salary data or diversity data, you see everything else, but not that. So what that helps us do is it streamlines reporting, and we operate from the single source of the truth. Where, coming back to your analogy or your example, what you would do in the past is that everyone will try and create a report for different stakeholders, and sometimes of different data sets. So
I'm so glad you've touched on governance and data privacy, because that was going to be my follow-up question. I wanted to ask you to share some of your data governance initiatives that you actually put in place to ensure such cases don't happen in your client's environment.
So a few years ago, GDPR in Europe took place in terms of data sovereignty and the Data Sovereignty Acts, and we are fully compliant with GDPR, and so are we with POPIA as well in terms of inherently understanding the data. We have many teams behind the scenes at data governance councils that looks at data as well.
Okay.
So the data that's processed within the Workday environment is owned by the customer. So at any given time, it's their data, but they're using our technology in terms of how to analyze it. I think in the South African landscape, though, we wanting employees to be more empowered more than ever.
Okay.
And I'll give you a few examples how we do so. So based on the fact that we have the data in one place within Workday, I like to look at it as an atom. So we don't use a database. To be technical, we use something called in-memory object orientation. So it's almost like an atom of an employee record, and every single attribute is linked to that within our technology.
Okay.
Now, if you look at it that way, you have a digital ledger of an employee record. So if I wanted to change my banking details, I would be able to go into Workday and change that. It gets curated by going to my manager for approval, and that takes place. If I wanted to change my photo or change my pronoun, if I wanted to change my physical address, I am now empowered to do so within Workday, and that goes, again, to a manager for curation. Coming back to things like automation and empowering employees, this takes it at a completely different level, because we want our employees to make sure that they've got clean data for their record.
Yeah.
And if an employee takes ownership of their banking details, surely they wouldn't want to not get paid or get paid into the wrong account. So it's those simple tricks and behaviors sometimes that really helps in terms of getting employee engagement up as well.
100%. You know, this question is actually inspired by what you've just shared right now. How do you inspire such mindset for, to get an HC leader thinking in this fashion?
It's a good question. It's a really good question.
Okay.
We in the 6 years we've been in South Africa, we sit down on a very regular basis. So I encourage my team to look at Kaizen philosophies, continuous improvement, and thinking about how we can do things better. But we also have various think tanks within our business where we interview our stakeholders, prospective customers, partners, and customers as well to understand the market. We see three different aspects in terms of where HR leaders could be and where companies could be. The first one is that a lot of companies are purely looking for automation.
Okay.
Because they are really have manual tasks. They're still printing pay slips on paper. They've got a way to go, irrespective of their size and irrespective of their culture and irrespective of their industry. So some companies are still purely looking for automation. In the middle, you have these companies that have automated, and now they're looking for operational excellence. So how do I have this target operating model of best practices when it comes to learning, when it comes to performance management, when it comes to recruiting? How do I get better at that? Then the latter for me is transformation. We have a company that's so mature in terms of having the basics, automating, having operational excellence, and now they're thinking about how do we transform? And how do we transform our business? How do we improve our company culture?
Yes,
How do we improve our employee value proposition? What is our stance on the war for talent? How do we attract, retain, and grow the right people in our company? And that's taking on a bit of steroids. So when we consult with the market and with different HR leaders, and it's not just HR leaders. So I think what I'm also appreciating in the South African market is we are speaking to so many CFOs.
Okay.
More now than ever before around the people agenda, on company culture, on how to grow the right skills, how to become more competitive. And we've seen an uptake on this in the last 18 months as well.
Amazing.
So depending on where the organization could be in those categories, we will take a different approach in terms of how we consult with them.
Okay. Lovely. I want us to get to a second part of our discussion.
Sure.
I find this question to be very refreshing, and I'm really interested to to get your response around it. How do you see HR evolving in the next 3 years?
That's a really good question. So I think there's different HR models that exist, and you're probably familiar with a whole bunch more of them than me. But I remember in my studies a few years ago that we looked at the Ulrich model, which a lot of companies still adopt today. And that talks about, I think there's this 4-box grid on where HR plays a role. And I think ideally where HR wants to go to is to be known as being the strategic business partner for the company.
Yeah.
And that means
That's a good
moving
point.
away from tactical, mundane tasks. Now, most HR teams today probably spend, on average, 60 to 80% of their time on mundane tasks and not spending enough time being strategic, not because they don't want to, just because of the overload of all the work that's being consumed by them in terms of leave applications, understanding payroll matters, or employee disputes, or trying to work out what the trend could be in employee sentiment. And a lot of that takes so much of time that HR leaders are getting stuck there. So I think for me, utopia would be, the biggest trend is how can HR play a role to be a strategic business partner for a company. I think interlinked with that is employee experience.
Employee experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
So an employee experience is a very vast topic. It covers so many different areas. But employee experience is about how do you make sure that before somebody starts in your organization, they understand who you are. So you catch them when you're at the recruitment stage. And then when you've caught them when you're recruiting them, then you catch them further when you're onboarding. That experience becomes so seamless that they understand directly from the CEO the company values. And you take them on board. And then how do you develop their talent along the way? How do you understand their voice as an employee? And then coming back to what we opened up with, for me, it's about how do you unlock that hidden potential of the employee.
Okay.
And then we work on this concept of growing the employees to grow the business.
Okay.
So I think that's the trend that's being embarked on. There's technology trends that we know that support that again, like AI.
100%.
But that's why I just love these principles. Let's go back to basics.
Yeah.
On HR partnering with the business, on understanding the business agenda and the people agenda, and then becoming partners in terms of enabling the teams to help grow companies.
100%. We'll get to the AI part in a moment.
Sure.
The following question I want to ask you probably have shared, insights around already, but I want to make sure that we're on the same page with our viewers.
No problem.
In preparation of this future that we've just described now, give us 3 things you believe businesses should start doing. And if it's more than 3, you can go for it.
Start doing in terms of what though? In terms of
you talk about HR becoming more of a strategic business partner to an organization. So with regards to that, what do you think we should start doing as an HR function?
So I think most organizations are trying to become more competitive. One.
That's a good point. I like that.
So many organizations are looking to become more competitive. Many organizations are thinking about from a COO, from an operations perspective, how do we get to operations excellence, where we are running a bit more lean, and by doing so, at the same time, that it allows us to become more profitable. So if we look at those 3 levers there, the role that HR plays is really in terms of identifying the team that we have, understanding that the metrics in terms of how we're managing and measuring people today, because the world has changed quite considerably. Everyone is driven by compensation. Compensation drives behavior. But what organizations are looking at today is what rewards do we put in place to drive the right behavior.
Okay.
So I think that there's a bit of work still required in terms of looking at incentives, looking at rewards that possibly could take place as well. And different companies have so many different ways of how they manage this. And that just leads back into the employee value proposition, which becomes quite key.
Okay.
So that's pretty much a big role. I think the other thing is to really look at the team. So you've got to make sure that you start small. So you look at your individual teams first, and I think that every team has, it's almost like the Avengers. I'm a Marvel fan. Everyone has somebody in your team that has a superpower.
Okay.
But you sometimes need to remove your bias to see that. And then if you sometimes get your team into a room and ask them, what is your superpower? And you allow them to think about it, you'll be amazed at the answer you might get.
Okay, I like that point.
Then the other element for me is diversity. Now, diversity, obviously, in South Africa plays a very big role. I like to look at it slightly differently, more nuanced as well. That diversity, as much as we have triple BE, which we all oblige by, I think that diversity also plays a role in terms of diverse thinking. So there's so much of data that shows that diverse companies outperform non-diverse companies by 80%.
Okay.
So if you start small and if you have the right team, a diverse team,
with a diverse thinking.
With diverse thinking,
100%.
That's critical thinking.
Yeah.
If you incentivize them the right way, and if you give them the shared vision in terms of where the company is going to, then you bring the people with you. You're not telling them what they need to do. So I think that's something that I would say would be great if more companies can look at adopting that. And then every organization has these individuals that have these superpowers. It's also about building the right campaigns. Use your team to be the brand ambassadors. You don't need to get external people to help you, because you could have really great coaches and mentors within your company.
Yeah.
And once you understand that skill set, you can leverage it and harness it. And then all of a sudden, you become more competitive. So I often talk about the fact that we feel that our technology makes us fundamentally different to our competitors. But the one thing I'm really proud about is I think my team is. So I think the people that work for Workday South Africa, we are fundamentally different in terms of being diverse, the way we think, the approach we take in our meetings with the prospects we engage with. And I'm really proud of that we have that ability to do so.
Okay. Look, most of our clients that we actually, do consulting work for, that we interact with on a daily basis, they're looking for a way to run this lean model. And I'm so glad you touched on that. Take us through that. What do you mean when you say running in a lean, a model, running a lean HR function, running a lean, a business? I just want us to unpack that a bit.
Yeah, no problem. So I think it starts by understanding the organization. It starts by understanding the culture, the vision, and where the organization is going to, what's their purpose. And then how do you underpin that is you've got to be able to look at the different functions and think about how can technology possibly play a role with the team that you have to automate things.
Okay.
So when we work with a lot of the prospective customers we speak to, we also work on this concept sometimes, depending on where they are in the level of maturity, of MVP, almost a minimal viable project to automate their environment. And when we look at that, we look at our HR suite of solutions, and when we think, okay, maybe we start with a subset of what we have, which is a core HR platform, and then we look at the business processes that can help them automate. So how do we standardize their leave types? How do we standardize their ability to do things like compensation or performance management? How do we provide them with an organogram of who their teams are in real time within Workday? Also the ability to use their mobile phone and view their payslip, interact with them in terms of any communication, use it as a directory service as well to find other employees within the team. And the last step is using that to help them develop their careers, learning. So, within our platform, we also allow employees to learn as they grow.
Yeah.
Very similar to Netflix, you can pause when you want to. It also gives you recommendations on recommended courses for you. So that will be the way that I would say that technology plays a role, because we're almost providing a best practices approach for companies.
Yeah.
And we do that heavy lifting for them. So then the teams can become more strategic.
Okay.
Because then the teams, based on the fact that automation is there and technology plays a role, then HR plays a role in terms of doing a lot of the other stuff that they just can't get to today.
I get you.
And you can do it in a very lean approach, because we will be able to provide those business processes out of the box that allows companies not to spend too much time to think about it.
Okay. Okay. You look excited. You look excited to me. You look excited with regards to what you do, the time that you find yourself, as a business, and possibly the support that you offer to your clients. Is it exciting to you?
It's, I was at a big prospective client we were consulting with last week.
Okay.
And they actually mentioned this to me.
Okay.
And I thought about it and was like, wow, I've been with Workday for 6 years. And I've been in the industry for 24 years.
Yeah.
And Workday is the fourth company that I've worked 5 years or more for.
Okay.
And I still feel as excited today as I did 6 years ago when I joined Workday.
100%.
And I think for me, it's just about, I love the fact that we're helping changing many organizations in terms of the way they think. I love the fact that we meet with so many different key stakeholders within South African business, board members, C-level executives, or HR teams or finance teams, and we're able to really understand the business and understand how we can help them improve. I think the other thing that underpins that for me is I practice having a growth mindset.
Growth mindset.
Many people in my team think I'm a growth mindset practitioner. So in every conversation I have, I talk about mindset. And you spoke about it at the opening as well.
Yes.
And I really believe that if you go in with a growth mindset, I love when there's problems. So I love the problem because you got to love the problem, appreciate it, to think about the solutions.
Okay.
A lot of people come with a fixed mindset where the problem is so big and so drastic and it holds them back from understanding how to improve and move forward.
Okay. So this question around excitement is a follow-up question to it, right? What's that thing that Workday got right to win your happiness that hopefully another business out there could do for their employees?
Look, I think the Workday, the platform, the team that we have, the heritage we have in terms of being a complete disruptive player. When you go to our events, we've been told, and Vijay from our marketing team has run really great events in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So we had an event called Elevate, which we ran last year and this year.
Okay.
It's our flagship events. We were told last year that it was the best technology business event that our prospective customers attended post-COVID.
Okay.
And it was really great to get that feedback because there's so many industry events that take place within the market from different OEMs. And this year we were under pressure to do the same, and we got feedback that we actually delivered. And a lot of the people that attended the conference this year just felt amazed about how we are linking technology to business, and the other aspect being human potential.
Okay.
So actually, I wrote a bit of an article on LinkedIn a few days ago on the fact that as much as we're talking about technology and the potential there, human potential for us is really what it's about. So I think that more companies that use Workday understand that they can manage their career better, they feel more in control. The platform allows them to grow within the business.
Okay.
And it allows managers and executives to have the right level of insight as well in terms of making the right decisions.
I like that. I said to you earlier, we're going to get to the AI part a bit later. This is the time now.
Okay.
Talk to us about AI. What does it mean to you?
AI for me is really about how do we leverage the technology to do the things that allows us to do the things that are holding us back so we can do the more strategic things.
Okay.
And I think, simply put for me, that's where AI plays a really, really big role. And if we can use AI to help automate and help us make better decisions along the way, even better. But when we look at it from a Workday perspective, and especially when we look at the HR market, I think a few use cases stand out. One is talent acquisition.
Okay.
So, AI plays a role today in terms of how do you do a job posting, one, and then how do you also screen talent to make sure that you are getting the right people that you should be hiring. So that's a really good use case that a lot of companies are looking at. When we look at job postings in the US, almost 20 to 30% of the job postings run on a Workday platform.
Okay.
Which is quite substantial. Now, typically in the past, what would take place is you would manually do that. You would manually type a job requisition, a job grade, and you would populate it into a Workday recruitment site and publish it. Now, AI plays a role in terms of automating that for you. So it's able to, within our AI platform, it's able to actually write the job prescription that you probably need and provide you that level of detail. So if you purely look at that 20 to 30% of all job postings go through a Workday portal today. And if that was done very manually in the past, you can already see the significant shift and gains that AI plays in terms of productivity levels. So that's one of the first use cases that we've seen.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the other one is skills. So, and we spoke about it before. So we have something called Skills Cloud. And Skills Cloud allows you to understand the skills that an employee has that's probably not known to the organization today. And then we take the technology by the known skills and we look at the unknown skills. So we have this anthology of 100 million skill sets that we aggregate, and then we prescribe to the business what the skill set could be. So I'll give you a very basic example. We could have somebody who's driving a forklift working for a company. But we might not know that based on the fact that they've done a certificate in health and safety, that there's an interlink in terms of another skill set they could have, which the business might need. But that could not be known today. So what we do is we use the technology by recording that, and the employee states that these are my certificates, these are my passions, these are my goals, and then we're able to make that assumption. Or it could be a bank teller who has studied Java for the last 3 years, and nobody knows about it in the organization. But within Workday, we're able to link that, and all of a sudden, our technology says, okay, if you have a Java skill set, you might also have the following other 3 programming languages, because it's the prerequisites to understanding Java. Or you might understand development better. So when the same company is looking to hire a Java expert or a different skill set for development,
you look within.
All of a sudden, they can look within. And they know that, wow, we have this bank teller that has
this
amazing skill set. The last one could be, this is more strategic, that you could have somebody working in the business who's not a manager, who has a role as an individual contributor. They've done an MBA. They're quite passionate about mergers and acquisitions. They wrote a dissertation on it. And they're really passionate about this space. So within Skills Cloud, if you're able to link that back to the person's credentials, the dissertation, the hidden skills that they have, if the company is looking to acquire, if they're looking to hire an analyst, they can look within. Because now they have an idea of skill sets that they didn't know was possible before.
That's amazing. But that also speaks to succession planning, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And the thing is, with succession planning, it's still looked at today very much in a archaic linear approach, where you look within your team because you're assuming that's where the experience lies. And all we're saying now is you can actually look wider within your team to understand the greater skill set. It also gives you a different view when you think about career progression. Now, typically most businesses still operate on a career ladder. You start an organization, you get a view of my job grade, this is what it's going to take to get promoted, this is the levels I have, and then this is my job in the end in 5 years' time. This is what my job will look like in 10 years' time. But the world has changed, and people change. And a lot of people who are in HR today did not start in HR 20 years ago. They could be engineers, they could be scientists, and they could come from very diverse backgrounds.
That's true.
So what we do with our technology is we're able to then help individuals within their companies is build a very dynamic career path. We call it the opportunity graph. And then, an employee logs in on their phone and they can say that, wow, 20% of people like me have applied for this job, which is completely outside of the domain today, or another role. And it gives them the propensity of people that have applied in the past that are similar to them. And then you take it a step further because you can see what jobs are available, and you can actually reach out to the people in those roles and ask them what it's about. Could there be a mentor? Could be the coach to you because it intrigues you. So this is when you take the world of HR and you make it really, really dynamic, and you move away from the static nature that it used to be many years ago.
Let's talk about the readiness. I want us to talk about AI readiness.
Yep.
Are you seeing that most organizations are AI ready?
I think companies want to go there, but for me it's really about getting the foundational level right.
Okay.
So we've been embedding AI machine learning in our platform for the last decade.
Okay.
So a lot of the things that I'm talking to you about are actually inherently built into what we do. So we might not refer to it as AI machine learning because it's built into the platform. I think the readiness comes in terms of the data.
It does.
If you don't have the data that you possibly need, and if you can't report off that, and if it's not unified, I think that's going to be the biggest challenge. So even though a lot of companies are still looking at the AI hype curve and thinking about buying these bolt-on technologies, I think for me it just comes back to the data, one. So I think companies are still struggling with the data, but I think where there's probably a lot of help and a lot of steer coming from the industry is making sure that companies adopt the right use cases for AI. And when you have the right data and then you have the right use cases, then I think you can get some good value in terms of what you're driving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I want us to also make it. I also want us to make it practical. This part of AI, right? As part of your solution, and you possibly have shared this in some of your, case study scenarios that you've shared, with us so far. But do you have specific examples on how HRs improve efficiency or productivity for some of your clients?
We do. I don't have the stats on record at the moment, but we're seeing significant shifts in terms of productivity levels. That's quite key to what we do. So when we embark on doing a business case for a prospective customer, we would look at the levers that make sense for them.
Mm-hmm.
We see a few things. Sometimes it's the onboarding process. So we can, with a great deal of certainty, state that we can improve your onboarding process by 30%. But we don't stop there. We then state the value to the bottom line in terms of the savings to the business.
Okay.
So when we do the business case up front, we really look at the levers that's important for that organization. And through the consultative approach we take with our discovery workshops, we then identify what levers are probably greater for one company versus another. Recruiting always stands out as being a big challenge for South African businesses. The time to recruit.
Okay.
So, you could post a job, but your average time to recruit could be 200 days. We're able to do that in probably less than 30 days for the platform that we have. And then we can attach a value to what it means for that organization. So there's various levers. The other one could be learning. How do we make sure that that the right learning content is curated for the right individual, and are they able to grow within the organization over a period of time as well? So there's really good use cases that we have that can look at different, depending on the maturity of the organization and where they are, we can assess that and give them that view.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds to me like you guys are doing some exciting things. No wonder the excitement.
Yeah, look, we've, I think I'm happy to share this on the podcast as well, that our office is on 155 West Street at WeWork. We are really open to have a coffee side chat with anyone that wants to know about Workday, to meet our team, to really understand the work we're doing in the market when it comes to the world of finance, the world of HR as well.
Okay.
Happy to chat further with anyone else as well.
Okay. No, that's definitely amazing. I want us to start wrapping up. There's a lot of questions which I would like to ask you. There's so many things I want us to talk about, but hopefully this is not the first and last time we have you on the podcast. I want us to give us some homework. All of my guests that sit with me here, I ask them for homework.
Yeah.
What do you want HC leaders to go home and work on or start thinking about?
So I love having pen and I love having paper as much as I love technology.
Yeah.
So sometimes what I do is I prefer to take a blank A4 piece of paper with a black Koki marker and take my time out to think things through. My team knows this. I often just need time out just to think through things.
Yeah.
I think it's about really understanding how do you go back to basics.
Okay.
And thinking about the team, thinking about the people that you have, thinking about what more can we do to empower them, to grow them, and allow them to be successful. And then link that back to the company's goals and the company's initiatives.
Yeah.
And then if you're able to do so, I will do so without thinking about technology. So my piece of homework for anyone listening to this is don't think about technology. Think about how you can be empowered as a leader in business. And based on the words you use, the decisions that you make, and the last part is the mindset that you have.
The mindset.
So if you have a mindset that can grow your team, and if you can help your team with their mindset, I think that's how you get to unlocking that hidden potential.
Yeah.
Because I talk about this to my team all the time, and they probably are quite tired of me hearing this, but I believe that we all have potential. But when you take that hidden potential, you become exponential.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if a leader can understand that concept, leave technology out, and think about how do we do that every day, and how do we unlock the best out of the teams that we have, then I think we're making some huge steps forward.
I find the mindset topic to be quite fascinating, and I'll tell you why. Because mindset, many times, what shapes mindset is what you're exposed to. What shapes mindset is what you've you are used to also. And that's where the concept or the phrase comfort zone comes from.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you've been doing something for too long, doing it in a certain way, you get used to it. And this is your world, right? How do you then disrupt that type of thinking? If you're so used to doing something in a certain way, in a particular way, and suddenly someone says, you need to change. How do you get that buy-in from someone to have the inspiration to want to change?
It's not easy. I think some people are more receptive than others.
Yeah.
It is a journey, though. So I remember last year, the year before, when I started speaking to the team a lot more about having a growth mindset. It comes back to what you said. You've got to think about, you're not going to grow if you're in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I remember reading a book about the top 1% of athletes and performers and business people in the world. And it all came down to the mindset that they have.
Okay.
I used to do Cubs and Scouts when I was small. And my mom knows this today, that still to today, I make my bed, which is something that I love. And I tell my 9-year-old son to do the same as well.
Yeah.
So when you think about mindset, it's really about thinking about the behaviors you need to put in place.
100%.
So if you can start small on small things, then you can do the big things over time. Then because certain things become muscle memory. So for me, it's about understanding the individual and thinking about how do you start small. Don't start big. Don't go cold turkey on something that they might be impossible for them to do. And the simple concepts of, making your bed in the morning to whatever it could be that comes next. Last year during winter, I used to go to the gym at 5 in the morning, which I did not want to do. But I decided to get myself out of the comfort zone to do so.
Yeah.
And I spoke to a few members of our team and they started doing the same. And we just started talking about this concept of pushing ourselves further. Because if you have this growth mindset, then you identify that you could get stuck by being a victim, by the world is out against you, or traffic is bad, or the fact that I'm having a tough day at work and I had another tough day at work. But if you take time to really think things through and, understand where you want to get to, that's important. But you've got to surround yourself by the right people, the network.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the next part.
100%.
So there's a lot of data that shows that you are the average of the closest 5 people around you. 1.
Yeah.
And 2 is 95% of your success or failure comes from the closest people around you.
100%.
Now, when you interlink the two, if you start getting into the networks of people that think differently, that are very positive, it changes quite drastically in terms of who you are. And then, you also have to do a self-audit. Am I one of the 5 that's dragging somebody else down within my network and my group of friends? But I think the last part for me is we're seeing that resilience and emotional stability, especially with a lot of South African employees right now. Everyone's going through something in life and globally as well.
Yeah.
But the last part I would say is you can't always have a brave face and you have to be vulnerable at the same time. So I think vulnerability for me is a strength. And if you're able to say, I'm having a bad day, and I need a few days to work this out and share it with people close to you and they acknowledge it and they help you, that's amazing.
Okay.
Because you also can't just have the mindset that every day is a good day.
Yeah.
Life is unpredictable and, we have all these things that hit us at any given time. So I like the fact I tell my team, I tell my family, if I'm not feeling great, I'm vulnerable to the point and I don't see it as a sign of weakness. And if I need help or if anybody needs help, I think that's a sign of strength. So I think that's why the world is, you've got to be so much more adaptable now than ever before. We always spoke about it at the beginning that you should have a high IQ or you should have a high EQ, but I think AQ is where you should be heading, adaptability quotient.
Okay.
It's being able to be that fluid to adapt to situations within the day and within the time.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
allow yourself to flow like water.
Yeah.
100%. We are currently working on expanding our business. In fact, we are working on what we call Vision 2030 in our business. What that means is wanting to actually grow our footprint into about 15 African countries by 2030 to help, most organizations get the HR, function ready for the future, especially the, people analytics, the ability to interact with data with confidence to make, strategic business decision. what advice would you give us?
Wow. Okay, that's a powerful question. I think it's really important, based on the questions you've asked me, to really understand the markets you want to get into, and the challenges that exist.
100%.
And then be able to quantify what those challenges are.
Yeah.
So if we can say that, and then you might be able to work at trends afterwards, that within a certain industry, this seems to be the top 3 challenges that they have. And then you think about, okay, what are the solutions that you can possibly roll out to help mitigate that?
100%.
I think for me that will be probably the easiest way to do it. I love design thinking, and I love being creative in terms of allowing the creative process to flow as well. So it's also about making sure that when if you wanted to build a think tank, I love whiteboarding and getting the right team to think about, what are we solving for? And what are the challenges that are out there? And then I think once you have that, then you've got a higher degree of probability of success in terms of where you could be going. But a lot of it stems from what you're doing today, which is amazing. It's storytelling. I think, I believe in micro-learning. We learn a lot more from others, hearing their stories and understanding their backgrounds. And I think the more of this that you do within your platform at the moment, by encouraging people to talk about their backgrounds, talk about where they think the challenges could be and what the solutions are, I think you are also eliciting a really great deal of content that you can bring together as part of the secret sauce that you will have.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kev. That's a very good point. This last one is for the entrepreneurs out there, the South African entrepreneurs, the African entrepreneurs. What's your message to them?
Wow. So firstly, congrats to you for being an entrepreneur. I would love to be one. I think you're in a better position than me in terms of making that step. Part of being a growth mindset, right? So I've got to push myself. However, the one thing that I've adopted is I have an entrepreneurship mindset with what I do.
Yeah.
So I treat my job as my own business.
Okay.
So my advice would be is you've got to spend time thinking about where you spend time. Time is money. Now, when you look at the concept of productivity, and my team hates this, but every week I send them new hacks on how to be more productive. There's a few key principles for me that stands out. Is you've got to think about your day, your week, your month, and your year, and you've got to be thinking about where do you spend your time, because those blocks of time is what's going to equate to any return of investment.
I love that.
So I sent out a Harvard 100. It's a Harvard list of 100 tips that our team can be more productive.
Okay.
And the first one, which is one that I've talked about all the time, is time boxing. So a lot of key executives from Elon Musk and others talk about this concept. And time boxing is this concept that, very simply put, if you wanted to clean your house in a day, you could. But if you had 30 minutes to do so, you would be able to do so. So if you take that notion, then you can be a lot more productive on the tasks you need within the shortest space of time. So that's just one first step in terms of thinking about how productivity levels could possibly come in. I think the other one would be understanding how do you build your team.
Yeah.
And knowing that team. When I took over the Workday business a few years ago as country manager, I embarked on this concept of distributed leadership.
Okay.
So that was by knowing everyone's strengths and weaknesses and then giving them the right tasks in terms of what they needed to do. So the other part will be being able to delegate. Being able to delegate and making the people that are around you to be more accountable. So once you manage your team, once you're able to delegate, then you spend a lot more time being strategic in terms of thinking about where the company could go. And I do chat to a lot of entrepreneurs, and when they give me an overview of what they've been busy with, they are busy being busy. And I think that's a bad space to be.
Yeah.
So it's about really working smart to be more effective than just being busy. So that would be my advice is think about your time and analyze that and put a dollar to it, or put a rand to it, put a naira, put a euro, or pula, whatever the currency could be. But put a currency to your time, and it changes the way you think in terms of where you spend your time.
I love that. You've shared very interesting points. Thank you so much
Thank you,
for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm really hoping this is not the first and the last time we have you on the podcast. We're looking forward to more engagements because we believe that, through people like you supporting, what we do, it's also an opportunity for us to learn and grow. And I think from here we can only get better.
Awesome.
So I want to thank you so much for
Thanks
coming
so much.
through.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. There you have it. This is the HR3Sixty podcast with Kiveshen Moodley. I hope you found value from the discussion. We're looking forward to seeing you in most of our initiatives, most of our events. We're looking forward to helping you take your HRHC function forward. Cheers for now.